Hello from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCG Fam Show to you, my YouTube buddies. Dad's Root Beer. What's going on? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. It's Friday. It's finally here. Got some weekend stuff. I'm going over the coast. What are you doing this weekend? Like I said, let me know in the comments. Today, we got a good show. It's a long one, but it's a good one. Scott Ostrander from Nectar for the Gods answering viewer questions and just talking. We're just hanging out. So that's what's coming up right now is that video of me and Scott talking, doing our thing, answering your questions. So watch that, and I'll talk to you after.
Man, you know you're getting fat when you can see your boobs in them. Screen.
That's why I've got those red shirts. You can see my whole boob. The black kind of slims me a little bit. I'd say I'm approaching a strong A. A strong A cup.
Oh, gee, I don't even want to know. Like, I might have to go to JCPenney and be sized up for a bro's ear.
A bro.
A man's ear. Yeah, it's a small B. A tight A. A loose B. It depends if I'm doing push-ups or sit-ups.
I'm gonna have cleavage pretty soon.
Yeah, push-ups, I don't have to go down as far anymore. They just go.
I can do 300 push-ups.
Like from this dude. So I was going to say, this guy had emailed me.
Yeah.
And about the bloom stage, blah, blah, one of your things you did online. And he was... Anyway, I discovered Bob on the YouTubes, and I've watched so many of his videos, I swear I'm seeing him in my nightmares. You know, the dark forest, something rustles in the bushes, then out busts out of the shadows is a Bob. Like, that sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Hey there!
Ah! That's what he says right here. Comes out, hey there, everybody, it's Bob from Constant Gardener. Very scary. I'll let you know how that ends. So I'd watch out. I think he's stalking you.
Yeah, no, I know.
To kill you.
That's how it goes. That's the price of fame.
That's the definition of fame.
Yeah, when someone wants to kill you, you know you've broken through. It's exciting. So I got some viewer questions.
Sure.
All right. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
This one is Space Dr. Ooze. Or Space Drews. Space Drews? Space Drews. What is the product they're talking about at the end of the video that helps with heat? Access?
It doesn't help with heat. It helps with moisture retention in an odd way.
Okay. What is it?
It's a diatomite. So it's a very similar to diatomaceous earth. It is diatomaceous earth. It's just... And it's the type of diatom. So instead of most diatomaceous earth we're used to, especially in the insect world or the pet world or the fleeing world, is they're little microscopic razor blade discs.
We're talking about the stuff you sprinkle on there and they crawl over it and it cuts them all up. That's what but this is not that.
Well, it is.
It is.
Different form of it.
Okay.
So instead of being a microscopic flat razor blade disc, these are long channel tube straw-like buildups.
Okay.
They're hollow. They've got millions of little tiny pores in it that hold moisture.
Mechanically holding the moisture.
Mechanically, and now what's weird is that it's about the size of perlite, like the regular size grade perlite. So it grabs this moisture, and then your fungus, because it's diatoms and silicates and a mineral, mycorrhiza likes to tap into it as a mineral source. It's rich in silica, a great amount of silica. We found that actually that's all the silica you really need is in this diatomite. But we're watching this symbiotic relationship between diatomite, fungal field, plant. And as the plant has over moisture or gotten to absorb too much moisture, the fungus can pull that back out and park it back into the diatomite. And vice versa.
So they're all working together. You get an actual relationship where it's like it's a smart system.
Symbiotic.
Wow.
So it's not. I mean, it's not going to protect you from heat. 100 degree soils, 100 degree soil, and the plants are mad. However, we just found that it managed moisture in the soil and the root zone far more impressively than just perlite and pumice on its own. It's not a cheap product. I mean, it is available in many different forms. We've tried it. We tried to add it into a potting soil. It puts us out of the price range. It's definitely a custom soil mix we use. We use a couple different farms that we deal with.
So can someone go out and get some of this, or what? It's a.
I don't know.
Come on, yeah, it's a secret thing.
I've never seen it in small bags.
Okay.
So we buy it in giant totes by the truckload, and again, we do custom blend soils. So it's something that we could look into possibly packaging down the road and getting, but
It's still an experimental thing at this stage.
Kinda. I mean, we're all along. Anybody that we've worked with, you know, we have pictures of, you know, middle of the night, plants are praying. First thing in the morning, plants are praying.
Wow.
In the heat of the day, underneath glass, in the summer, plants are praying. They just don't go through the wilt process, and it just seems to be moisture management through the fungal field and diatomite.
Oh, wow.
So it's nothing that helps with heat. It just helps with moisture stress.
So your soil, I guess, would naturally dry out in the heat, or the plant would be more stressed. Yeah. So but you don't get that with this. But it's not something someone can go get some and then throw it in their soil. It's just.
Well, you probably could. You just have to find the right people who have it, and I don't know who would have it. I know in Oregon, we're one of the few people that actually manufacture with it because of the costs that are put in.
It's just too expensive for most
packaging. So. We should just package it in 1 cubic foot bags and let people throw it in themselves. When we mix it into people's potting soils, it's usually about a 10% mix. So we take out that much perlite and we add that much in on the diatomite.
Like 10% of the perlite you take out?
No, 10% of the
10
mix.
The volume.
So yeah, it'd be like, if we put in a yard for a 4-yard mix of perlite, we're pulling out almost 3 cubic feet of that and putting in 3 cubic feet of axis to make that up.
Well, Carl.
Hey, there's Carl.
Okay, let me see here. All right. I'm using One Shot now and number 4 soil amended with bokashi and worm castings. Will there be enough nutrition for flowering plants just by adding these as a food source? Do I need to add bottled nutrients at all? So I guess what he's saying, and we don't know how much he's using, so could you use enough of those dry things that would be the only source of nutrition for the plant? Or if you're pushing harder, you're always going to need some liquids in addition to that?
Well, it depends on what you're doing and what you want to do with the plant. If you're trying to grow the biggest flower and the most aromatic, then it's not enough.
Not enough, yeah.
If you want simplicity because you're in a wheelchair, you can't roll down the garden path, and you need to just do water and not mix up anything, that will get you a crop from start to finish.
So growing some tomatoes or something,
For sure. Peppers, Most of your run-of-the-mill vegetables, no problem.
High value
heavy consuming foods or flowers, they're going to need more or at least an additional top dress throughout the cycle to make sure that they are constantly getting more food. The nice thing about One Shot is that you're not overfeeding. So even if you top dress in the 3rd or 4th week of the flowering cycle, knowing you only have 4 to 5 weeks left, it's nothing that's going to sit there and residually, hey, we're talking, Carl. Doesn't he know?
Well, he's in Europe. He's excited.
Well, he should be watching this.
It's not live.
I know.
He should know.
It is now. You know I'm talking to you.
Damn it, Carl. Let it go.
Seriously. You know you're hugging a wall somewhere. We're busy. So it really just comes down to how often you top dress for the sake of, yes, you can run a crop start to finish.
Okay.
Whether or not it's going to be the award-winning, the biggest, the most tasty, it's, depends on genetics.
Not so much. Okay.
To make that work really good, throw some Gaia and Herculean in there, you're good to go.
So let me ask you this. So what is the difference between putting on just a ton of One Shot at the start over putting on some at the start and then putting it on 3 or 4 weeks in? Does it degrade on its own whether it gets eeten or not? Or what's the...
Well, it'll degrade with water. It'll degrade with time and erosion. But if you're putting a bunch down, your plant can't eat all of it.
Right. So some of it's going to
inevitably, most of it will run off.
Right. Okay.
So why put down so much that you're just going to water it away when you can just continuously top dress a little bit more throughout the cycle?
Okay. So if you were trying to go simple and you did the One Shot, just throwing in some Gaia or something from time to time, is that going to be much of a help over going with the whole line? I mean, is it worth going to that step of going to any of the liquids, or without going to the whole thing?
Well, I mean, you're going to the whole thing, then the One Shot's overkill.
Yeah,
so there's no point. But Gaia is just going to help you bring everything that's in One Shot, you're bringing to the table in a soluble, ready now form with the Gaia.
Okay.
And so if you just feel like you're missing something, Gaia's going to fill in that void with everything that One Shot really is. It's just going to be in a liquid form today.
So if you were doing the One Shot, it might make sense to do a little Gaia, but then when you jump up to using everything, then you drop the One Shot?
Drop it or reduce it. You just don't need to. Or use that in your early stages so it's your backup during the bloom stages. While you're hammering them here, but you still would reduce the amount. You wouldn't put in, tens of pounds into a 100-gallon pot if you're going to run the nutrient line on a regular basis.
Okay.
If you're doing this once a week, then you can put more one-shot in and just hit them once a week with a heavy feed. So you're just covering your butt on all levels of growth.
Okay. If you were doing some Gaia and some one-shot, would Zeus be helpful?
Oh yeah,
a little bit, but you're just moving up the line.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me ask you this too. Let's say I'm using the full line. I'm going, and then it's summer, and I'm going to be gone for a week or two, and I'm going to trust someone to cover my garden for me. Could I just throw some one-shot down there?
Your garden's going to die when you get home.
But could I put some one-shot on a couple weeks before?
Yeah. If the problem is nobody does it.
Yeah.
So if you know August 15th you're leaving, August 1st, throw some one-shot down, and then give them a simple, put a cap of this per gallon in water every day I'm gone.
And then
simplify it for your guest.
But dropping off the map from going from all the bottles to suddenly I'm going to one-shot, because it's not going to be available. Well, I don't know. If
your trip's a week, it's not going to be the end of the world.
Okay.
If your trip's a month, then you probably shouldn't have started that crop. You should start over.
Okay. But one shot could be a get you by if you. It would probably be safer than letting someone go in there with mixing stuff up that doesn't know what the heck they're doing.
Or know your guest. Know the guy who's watching your stuff. There's 100 ways to do that, and I've left my garden in the past, and I've made it to the point where all they had to do was pour into things and not think. Just. There's a cup in front of this with a line. Fill, pour. Then pour this, and you're good to go.
Didn't happen, or did they do it?
Oh no, killed it. Awesome. No, they killed it.
Oh really? Okay.
They did well.
Nice.
No problems, because it was just 10 measuring cups, 10 lines. Every other day, do this.
Oh wow, okay. That's
so this is Zeus. There, and they didn't have to do anything. They didn't even have to measure or test the pH.
Oh, so you kind of had a pretty good idea of what you were going to do.
I knew exactly, because the 4 days before I mixed everything, and then I pH measured. I said, oh shoot, that's literally at 5.1, so I need 7 mils to get me to 6.1. I need 10 mils to get to 6.4.
Right.
So 10 mils.
Nice.
All they had to do was pour it there. They would always double check with referencing, but it never once was off. So
wow, that was cool.
There's a bunch of ways to do it, but that's my favorite way.
Nice. What happened to my questions?
Carl.
Oh, here we go. Carl. He's a nut. You know what he's doing? He's over in Italy, and he's going to put a Nectar sticker on some thing and get himself arrested, and he's probably going to... Do you know that they have a terrible... I shouldn't talk about this because I may be going to Italy. Their legal system over there, they don't fuck around.
Oh no, remember that chick who got busted for murdering the boyfriend?
I'm pretty sure that I heard this statistic right. It was that 60% of the cases over there get overturned on appeal. So they go and they convict you. You go back on appeal and you have a better chance of getting it turned over.
And how many years are you in prison in between time?
A lot. Well, she was over there for years.
Yeah, 7, 8 years.
Yeah. Well, she can't go back.
Would you go back?
No.
Well,
it's a beautiful country.
Yeah, well, there's a big world out there.
All right. In mid-flower, I'm just reading them randomly now. I'm not reading through them. I'm just going to go for it. Okay, here we go.
I memorized them in order.
Okay, then I'll do them in order. In mid-flower, I'm in mid-flower, and my slurry test shows 6.5 pH and 287 ppm. Well, do they have meters that are I guess there's some where it just tells you a number, right? Because mine's like a truncheon, it's just 300, 400.
Well, the Blue Lab combo is just a readout.
Is that accurate? Is it? Maybe, who knows?
Well, it's a reference.
It's a reference.
That's what we care.
Okay. I'm in soil. I use tap water that sits out for 24 hours. I use the starter Nectar line with fish shit and microlife. My plants look happy and healthy. Should I do anything more?
Well, knowing that you're at 265?
287.
287. So you're in the range. So basically when you see that range and that pH and those ppms, that's telling you that when you put in... Because I'm wondering, what's your ppms of that when you are starting, before you feed? So you mix everything up. I bet you that's at 950.
Yeah, so it's probably eating it.
It's clearly eating it.
Yeah,
so if you go 950 and you come out 2 days later at 287, that means what you're giving them is just enough and maybe on the light side.
So
you can almost jump up a little bit more Herc or a little more Gaia. I mean, if you're in the bloom stage, look at your phosphorus products, and you can start bumping those up a little bit. And I bet you your ppms are going to maintain that 270 to 300 range for the next while, because as they're growing and they're developing and they become hungrier for this reproduction stage, they're going to want that food. And so if you just maintain this level, that number is going to slowly get less and less, and then it's going to be starvation, and you don't want to have to catch up from starving. You kind of want to keep pushing them so they want to take, and in turn you'll get more weight.
So I guess if you're doing a flush from time to time, you probably are going to be covering your bases of going too high. So you probably want to go a little high all the time. So you got some surplus.
If you flush right now with that, you will flush yourself into starvation.
Right. So yes, you should be doing more. What do you think about this fish shit?
I'm not. It's an interesting product. I mean,
it's a nitrogen source. I mean, you guys, some's better than the other, right?
Well, yeah, it's a digest though, so it's a bacterial digest. They've got they have a really nice essay online of like all the microbials that are in it.
So there's more to it than just.
It's not fish shit. It's literally a digest. So it's a. I'm interested. I think it's a viable product by all means.
So how would this be different from a blood meal or a guano or something like that? Other type poopy products. This has got some more.
This is more, because you're getting fatty acids and lipids and proteins, and I mean you're getting a gamut of nitrogen forms, not just nitrate from blood, nitrogen from shit.
I gotcha.
This is giving you way more of a diverse recipe of microbials, enzymes, acids. I mean, it's really in our wheelhouse outside of, the nitrogen part. But if I'm going to use a nitrogen outside of feather proteins, fish proteins are right there too. They're a great product. Yeah, they're out of the East Coast. We're definitely looking into them more and more. I think from what I hear, they're great guys that own the company. It's a good product. It's well received out there. It hasn't made it out here because it's an East Coast product. So, and we've got tons of fish products here. But looking at how they do it, what's in their processes, they're not far from like the best cold process on the West Coast. I just think they're marketing it differently. So.
Nice. So you'd push a little harder. You'd go more mils.
I wouldn't push the fish it because they're in bloom.
But you'd be pushing your nectar. I mean, would you be going specifically like more herc or
Gaia herc?
More Gaia and more herc. Okay.
Yeah, more bloom.
Okay. Cool. Your recommendations suggest to use a soil that has a pH of 6.3 to 6.8 and a ppm of 300 to 500. I found an organic soil that tests at the bottom end of those suggestions, 6.3, 300. Question, do I need to bring those numbers up a bit before I transplant into this soil? If so, will doing a flush with Herculean Harvest and Olympus Up bring those numbers up?
No. And so those numbers, we got to make it somewhat clear, because I know we have that written, but that's the numbers we want to see after we're doing the feedings.
When we're actually working in the soil.
And I mean, and that's a guideline. So if you found a soil that's at 700 parts per million, that's not hot.
Right, okay.
That's very doable soil. And if it's at 200, that's a very mild soil, which means it's going to need to be fed right out the gate. So if you're at the 300, that means that you got about a week's worth of good waterings before it's an issue.
Okay.
And then you can feed right away, and it's going to be a good soil to receive a food source.
So if you were really low, would you maybe mix some one shot in there before going for it, or would you flush
depending
it?
on where you're at. But I mean, if you're early veg and you got something that was, if you get anything below 200, it's a soilless medium.
Yeah.
And that means there's nothing in there.
Right.
And really at 300-ish to 400, it's a light charge that is, it's available. So
it's giving you something to work with. It's doable.
Yeah.
So, and then you're super high or something.
Then you're screwed because that could burn your plants.
Can you flush that out, or is that?
Yeah, because mostly when it's electroconductivity, or it's the total dissolved solid or the potential of energy in this soil. Usually that reading is going to be the salt.
Okay.
And so when you see 900 to 1,000 parts per million in a fresh soil, that could be because it's charged with guano, which is salty poop and pee.
Okay, sure.
Blood meal, which is salty, and all these things that can be watered out. The downfall is that when you water to flush out a brand new soil with no plant in it, it takes forever for it to dry back out. So I hate planting in waterlogged soil.
Yeah.
And to get 1,200 parts per million out of a brand new soil, you got to flush it. And so to me, those are the criminal soils. Is that? Well, it's not criminal soil. It's just
no one's going to jail over it, but it's a tough deal.
It's crap because you're going to battle burning plants, deficiencies, calcium lockouts, potassium lockouts, because your parts per million is so high, your plant is literally just struggling to eat.
So, what would happen if you threw some bokashi or something like that into something like that? nothing's going to happen without a plant in there. Is that what you're getting at?
No, because if that 1200 was a nitrogen, let's say.
I gotcha.
Then yeah, put in a Kashi, more Coco, something inert, mild, very low ppm, but organic matter to tie up the nitrogen. That would help a lot.
That would help a lot. Okay.
Yeah. But again, it's like, well, if I'm buying a high-end soil and it's 1,200 parts per million, do I have to buy high-end bokashi to break that? Just don't buy that shitty soil.
Look for some other soil, probably.
Yeah, well, unless you've already had the bag and they're at home, then put a tomato in it, throw it outside, and just water it with a garden hose for like a month. But when his comment was the 300 to 500 range. Don't flush it. Don't prep it. That's a great soil.
This is good soil.
Yeah, that's 300 with a 6.4 pH. That means that you can plant in it, no risk of burning whatsoever, and it can take a feeding right when they establish. So that's a good soil to run with.
Okay. So, and being at the low end, so we'll just say, if it was even a little lower still, like it's in the 100.
Be prepared to feed it.
Be prepared to feed it right off the bat.
Yeah, but it's a safe soil to work with. I mean, I'd rather work with something with less numbers. Minus the pH. And if the pH is in your 5s, then oh gosh, that's a whole nother nightmare. But the ppm's on the low side. That's a good thing because you can always add more. Okay. It's harder to take it away if you give it.
Okay, cool. Let's see here. Good info on a simple regimen. I'm not sure which videos these questions came from. This was, I haven't been saying who it was. That was Drill Bit that did that last question. This is DRP. He said, good info on a simple regimen. I have a question. How long do you want to run a mixed reservoir for best results? Does the nutrients need a pump or bubbler to mix up in water? Water temps make the reservoir last longer. Any reservoir maintenance? Would love to hear your response on this topic. Oh boy, there you go. So not so much, right?
I got a canned response in my emails for that one. Just copy, cut, paste.
So it's just a tough deal using this. Now, can you use it in a reservoir? I mean, isn't the pH going to just drift on you, and you're never going to?
Well, it all depends. The question is. It's not a hydroponic question. I mean, a reservoir is anything that holds the moisture. So this is a reservoir if I cut the lid off. So you don't want to run it very long. So if you had a 55-gallon drum, you're going to use 55 gallons today. You mix up all your nutrients. You stir it, you let it agitate. I only let mine agitate for like 10 to 15 minutes. I just stir the components together.
Okay.
Then I test and adjust the pH. Once my pH hits that 6.3 to 6.6, whatever I'm aiming for,
time to go. I
let it sit there and make sure it doesn't climb for another 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
And you can tell if it's going 6.1, 6.2.
Right. Okay.
6.3. Okay, I'm going to give 5 minutes after the last bump.
Because it's to make sure that we're
6.4, 6.5, 6.6. Yeah.
Yeah, because it could just keep going real slowly on and on. Okay.
Yeah. But if you let it go too long, it will. So if I let that solution go for 24 hours, that 6.4 that it was at 10 o'clock yesterday, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, it will be 7 because that limestone is going to continue to break down. So the question being, how long? 10 to 15 minutes of mixing.
Okay. And you'd be mechanically mixing this the whole time with a
Sturricane. Because I do.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Because they're badass.
Because it would just fall out of solution if you didn't stir.
Yeah, that or you use a lot of people, like in a 55-gallon drum, will use a sump pump and put an elbow on it so it's vortexing that. Airstone never hurts, but it's not necessary.
Really not physically mixing it up. It's just kind of bubbling.
Well, it's aiding in the mix because if you have one pump circulating and the airstones are elevating, it's grabbing that and taking it up and creating this type of circulation. It's not microbial, so there's no need for air.
Okay.
It's not going to benefit. You're not growing beneficials. There's nothing living in these bottles.
Right. So you're physically, the bubbles going up through it or mixing up to some extent.
Yeah. And adding oxygen to the water, and dissolved oxygen never hurts either.
And you'd probably rather use this Sturricane or something with a blade over using a pump that's going to where it's going through the pump and there's impellers.
Again,
it's not a big deal because it's all pretty.
So if I'm making a compost tea, I won't use a sump pump because the impeller will destroy them.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
There's nothing in here you're going to destroy by using a magnetic pump, diaphragm pump, or the Sturricane is just safe for everything.
Sure.
And that Sturricane, I'll tell you.
That's something else. It's so convenient.
Easy. I mean, and I figured I could do 15 gallons now with one of those weight tubs that we have for the lids. So he sent me the new magnet. It's like that big.
Oh, jeez.
And literally,
nice.
Oh yeah,
serious magnet.
I got a gap between the bottom of that bucket and the top of that lid, that big, and that thing still vortexes 20 gallons.
Wow.
So I'm starting to learn, I can feed 20 now with this new, if we just have to come up with a new lid, but yeah, whatever.
Ooh, okay.
So any reservoir maintenance? Well, when you're done, clean it. Try to use it as fast as you can. I mean, in the sense of if you mix 55 gallons, try to water it that day.
Yeah, it's got to happen that day.
Yeah,
but
for best results, and the reason for that, and we've covered this on a bunch of shows, but it's chemistry. The compounds will start forming when these elements that are freely roaming in the solution start finding each other. They're going to tie up to each other, and they're going to become compounds.
So it's not just the pH drift. It's also this is going to become. It's going to all glob together on some molecular
level. Back to
level.
what we did when we first started making it. When we digested feather meal, it's going to go back to feather meal. Because it wants to react. I mean, everything in these bottles wants to react to something. That's why they're by themselves in these bottles.
That's why, because, I mean, in theory, you could have one bottle, but no, because by the time it got to them, it would all be back to what it started as.
Gaia Medusa is pretty much everything we make, just not as available. Because it's everything we make.
So it's got to be,
Here's the Herculean, here's the bone meal that's in Gaia. Here's the amino acids that's in Gaia. Here's the calcium that's in Gaia. The downfall is they're more available here than they are here. But this feeds my microbes, and this feeds the plants.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does. It does.
And so with this, same thing is that if I can get this stirred, get it agitated, get my pH adjusted, and I get it into the root zone, then all of these reactions that are potentially occurring, because when things react, there's energy released. And so when you take phosphorus and you take phosphoric acid and you take limestone and you put them together, it makes soft rock phosphate. But more importantly, it creates energy.
It's at the time. It's actually happening right now.
Yeah. And it sends out literally like gamma rays, and those gamma rays are things the plant can actually absorb as energy, and they can convert that into growth. So if I'm taking these bases and these acids and I'm blending them together and I'm getting that reaction to occur in the root zone, the plant is reacting to the energy released from all these different reactions occurring in the soil.
So that's the advantage of separating some of these things out, is that when they come back together, that's the point of it. Yeah. And that's why
it's one shot.
Yeah. So because when the Gaia, amazing and beautiful and wonderful, but it's not the same as when it's all these things.
I don't see an overnight response. I see a healthy garden. I see beautiful flowers. I see growth. I see everything I want. But when I hit them with Herculean, I can see it tomorrow. When I hit them with Demeters and on a plant, it's like, holy crap, they actually are responding because they're drinking it as it goes past them. This is going in. They're getting some. Yeah. But the microbes are like, oh, this is great.
The microbes are eating this and feeding the plant. This is going into the plant.
Most of it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, ideally, just mix it, use it, and then wash it. Wash your reservoir. Man.
Okay. So, last question. We're doing pretty good. This one's a simple one, I think. And it's just about MagAmp. Because some people use the MagAmp. Yeah. And we had Gary was here, yeah. And so he said something about when you should use it. And I think we pretty much settled when you could use it. But the question is he says, can it, just to confirm, MagAmp can be added to the nutrient solution in any order. First, last, middle, and you will not cause any lockouts. Is this correct? I always thought you added calcium and magnesium first. So the two questions I would ask you from this question is, one, obviously the pH is the issue generally, is that we don't want to have the pH jumping up and down as we're mixing all our nutrients together, and it's somewhere down in this range, so we want to have it near the end. But is there a difference of when you add the elements to the stuff?
No, traditionally the calcium and magnesium first comment is really because of the pH issues on calcium nitrate, magnesium nitrate on CalMag products, and CalMag products are going to have a different pH than all these other ones. So that doesn't really work in our aspect. It really, again, comes down, because I mean, this is one of the most reactive products we have, and it's one of the most acidic ones we have. And we're using this for the calcium load. We're using this for the calcium load, and it's more acidic than this is pure calcium. And this is calcite, so there's nothing in here stabilizing this because it is a high alkaline stabilizer. So, no, the pH part, we do the pH part, not the calcium, magnesium, potassium, nitrogen, phosphorus. We don't do it by element, we do it by pH.
Right, and are they doing the same thing? It's just that their pH is different when they're doing it. And then
they're coming from a different nutrient line. Yeah, exactly. When it's salt-based, most of your available nutrients are 5.5 to 6.1. We're 6.0 to 6.8. So the big difference is, you'd want to add that closer to the beginning so it doesn't react with your and your P and your K from your 3-part nutrient system.
In that. But with this setup, we want to be somewhere down near the end here.
Because it's a more neutral pH, from what I understand. Yeah. I don't use a lot of it because I don't.
It's not usually an issue.
Yeah.
No. There's probably a lot less magnesium deficiency than we think there is. It's probably something else going on. I think most of it's lockup.
Yeah, but I mean, that being said, MagAmp is one of those that plants definitely need magnesium.
Sure.
There's no question.
Yeah.
And if you have the wrong medium, like a lot of potting soils, the salt is locking up the calcium and the magnesium in the potting soil.
It's just not there in an available form.
It's not, well, you can't get the chelation to occur because the calcium wants to react to the salt and not the cocoa.
Oh, it can't ever get to it.
No, it's bonding before it can bond.
Okay.
And so what we see with, people say cocoa fiber steals calcium and magnesium. Kinda, but salty stuff does. Because it's grabbing the calcium molecule to tie up the salt, but not the calcium bonding to the cocoa, so your microbe wants to eat the cocoa.
So this was an issue with a lot of cocos where it's not fully rinsed out, so there's still a lot of salt in there. It has nothing to do with the cocoa per se.
It's how the cocoa's prepped.
I gotcha.
And a lot of companies, synthetic companies, will prep their cocoa with salt, adding EC to their cocoa, to then balance their nutrition that they're giving the plants.
Oh, so it's just a different play when you're doing this over doing that.
That's it.
And
if
so
you
you're
run
mixing
this in one of their cocos, you're going to run into nothing but problems. And if you run our cocoa with one of those lines, we've had nothing but issues because ours is washed and buffered with limestone. Theirs is salt based, so when they start reacting, we're tying up their crucial elements.
Vice versa. Yeah.
So
that's why you had to make soil.
That's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
And and that our soil isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
And Canna's isn't for everybody. Canna's cocoa and Psycho's cocoa, all their cocoa, nothing wrong with their cocoa. They prep it the way they need it prepped for their products. But if you bring Psycho cocoa over and you're running ours, you're going to run into some deficiencies. And not because their cocoa's bad, it's just because our product wants to tie up that salt.
And it's salty for what they were doing, but that doesn't work for what you're doing. If you were doing that, would you rinse that out? I mean, would cocoa be something?
If I had to get one of their products, I would just... What I would do is I would hydrate it with Olympus Up.
Oh, okay.
And then I'd press it. I mean, literally and I've done this 100 times when you take... Because cocoa comes in a brick.
Yeah.
It can. When I used to work at Down to Earth way back in the days, we'd get them and they'd be really salty. So we'd hydrate them in a garbage can.
Okay.
Then you pour it into another garbage can with holes in the bottom. And you take the other one and you step on it. You stand in there and you literally press it out. And then you've got moist, washed cocoa.
This is something you can work with.
But I hydrate all my cocoa with the Olympus Up to make sure that I am putting in the buffering solution and tying up the salt. So when I do wash it out, it's going out.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's it. Washing cocoa is, I mean, we can go into that on another day, but not everybody spraying cocoa and washing cocoa are two different terms. So most washed cocoa is simply sprayed.
They just hose it down. Do they
chip
break
it?
Oh, okay.
They send it through a tree chipper, and then as it's going up the conveyor into the even flow of the mixers, it's just a spray bar.
Doesn't that break up all the strands of the...
It destroys the pith. I mean, because cocoa should have a little granulated in the hair and little grains, if you will.
Right.
It's like a granulated cocoa. To us, we're looking for the structure of cocoa to create the drainage, to create the airflow. But when you crush all that down into fine powders, it's cement.
It just holds together. And
it stratifies. So if everything's super fine, and then you got perlite, which is a structure, cocoa is a structure, pizza structure, you flood them 3 or 4 times, everything starts stratifying.
So you got this whole layer of perlite on top.
Perlite, big perlite, pumice, cocoa, and it's like,
it looks like the Grand Canyon.
And it looks like every valley between here and Portland with hardpan. Because one of those will become a rock. Water will penetrate and then just run down one side because it's creating little hardpans in there. Gotcha. So we like to keep our cocoa intact so it becomes part of the structure of the soil.
How do you do that?
You've seen the video.
I've seen the video. I'm just
we hydrate it.
You hydrate. It's all you take those.
So we wash it. We hydrate it. It expands. We turn it. It expands. We wash till it's nothing, and then we hydraulically press out the moisture instead of we don't grind it.
Right.
We don't ever put it through mechanical anything. It's just easily raised, then squoze.
I was hoping you'd say squoze.
Squoze is so good.
Love that word.
Squoze my breasts.
So okay, that's all the questions. I guess that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
There's nothing else.
That's the end.
It's Friday.
Is it Friday?
It will be when this goes on.
I love Friday. All right, that's that.
Friday, Friday, Friday.
Okay, that was fun. I hope you found that enjoyable and informative. That's the show for today. I love you, and I'll see you on Monday. For more information about anything on today's show, go to our website, OCGFAM321. And if you buy anything while you're there, use the code FAMSUMMER. It's going to save you 20%, and it's a lot of fun. The OCG Fam Show, it's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you on Monday.